Hello everyone, this is Kathleen and I am here with a fun new project. I have created a couple of kits that I want to put up on my Etsy store, and I actually have two, and it's enormous. They're both of them exactly the same, except the little yo-yo might be a little different. It's going to be a slightly different design on the fabric, but pretty much it is as near as possible to exactly the same. So I'm just going to do a little video today to show you what's in the kit, and then tell you about the project that I'm going to do. So let me just pick up a couple of these things so that we can start with the fabric. So we'll do the laces in a bit. We'll do the ephemera stuff in a bit. So we'll put that over here, and I'll show you first of all the fabric. It's this beautiful tapestry, and honestly I just love these colors, and I am just so enamored with this that I wanted to create a journal, and then decided that maybe somebody else might like to create a journal. And so I have this large piece of tapestry, and you can either make a large book or you can cut it in half and make, a smaller journal. But so in the kit you get this piece, which is, let's measure, it looks like it's about 16 and a half or 17 inches by 10 and a fourth this direction. So there's plenty of room to create a hardcover if you want and fold it around the chipboard, or to make a soft cover if you'd rather do that. Anyway, so you get a piece of the tapestry fabric, and then I just put together some other little pieces of fabric that I thought, might be pretty. This is just, I just loved the roses on this chiffon kind of fabric. And so there's a large piece of that. You can make a fabric flip on the inside, or do tucks or pockets, but that, and I think it just goes so beautifully with the fabric. And so there's a piece of that. For those of you who love to do boho kinds of things, I have included this beautiful piece of sari as well. It's got this gorgeous motif here, and then some of the trim and some of the other smaller motifs. So that is in the kit. This is just a piece of an old placemat, I think, or I'm not sure, but I really love this punch out. It's beautiful, kind of a jacquard design, and then it has these die cut edges, and I really liked that. I was thinking maybe a pocket on the edge. Anyway, so there's a nice piece of that. Then this is maybe just for tabs, so just a little snippet of that, and another little snippet of this beautiful batik quilting fabric, and then just this lovely piece of cotton. It's a vintage and recycled. It might have even been a sheet at one time, but it's soft and faded, and I really love that. And it also just matches the fabric so nicely that I wanted to include a piece of that. So there's not much blue in here, but if this were coffee dyed or grunged up, then there is some blue in the fabric. So that's the fabric bundle. And then this is the papers. And oh my gosh, we've got all kinds of little pieces. So I just have embossed 4 pieces of white sketchbook paper, and these can be dyed or watercolor, you know, with a brush. However you might want to use those. I'll show you an example in a few minutes of what I have already done for the kit with some of this embossed paper. So there's 4 little pieces of that. There's a coffee dyed doily. This is some of that vintage stationery that I found in the thrift store some time ago, but again, the colors are just perfect for this journal. And yeah, so there's a piece of that. This is some vintage stenographer paper. This is a beautiful piece. This is the other reason why I wanted to make the journal, because I have this short strip of wallpaper border, and I just love that. It's very I don't know if the camera will pick it up, but it's very silky and shiny. It has like a fabric finish, and again, it just matches perfectly with the fabric. So there is a piece of that. Can do a pocket or something with that. This is also vintage wallpaper. It's actually quite fragile, but it's even got a couple of fly spots. But I love that. It's beautiful. I've made pockets in journals with this, and it works really well. It has a nice yellowed backing on it. And some book pages. Not very many. We all have a lot of book pages, but I just included a couple of my favorites. This is a beautiful Edith Holden book page. Obviously, in the other kit, this page will be different, but it will still match the kit. This is from just a craft book, some pretty stained glass, and again, in the other kit, this particular page will be different, but it will be largely the same. This is a great music page, and I love it because it is going the right way for a journal. And this is a lovely linen stationery vintage that I found, and it has this beautiful embossed rose in the corner. This is some card, so it would make great tags or whatever, pocket, maybe a tuck, and so I did a punch on one corner. This is out of a vintage tatting book. This is just a scrap piece of paper, but I really loved the design and the color match as well. This is also from a book that I have. It's called One Man's River, and it's a book like a nature journal from a gentleman in Scotland, and the colors again match, both sides match well, and so I included one of those. And then for the kind of the writing papers, I have this large scrapbook page. I love this where the wire went through. This is a vintage scrapbook, and it is, I'm sure that it's archival because it was meant for photographs, but I have a piece of that. I have hand dyed several papers. You know, there's one of these. It's coffee dyed. This is coffee dyed, and then it's hand dyed with distress inks. Excuse me. And then there is just a little bit of an impression, I don't know if you can see it, of a deboss doily in there. some avocado dyed paper, again coffee dyed with the pink color smushed on it. And then this is just a plain coffee dye with a little bit of the pattern on it. This is a piece of that really lovely vintage music manuscript paper. Oh, I'm sorry. And this is a lovely piece of 1927 ledger, and then it's been reused in about 1954. Somebody used it again. Some of this can be erased if you want. It's just pencil, but there is this blank spot here. And then this is an up-to-date ledger paper that I have hand dyed with all the colors that are in the fabric. And finally, just this piece of designer paper, but I have coffee dyed it to use. Okay, so that's all of the papers, and there are, oh, I don't even remember how many. I guess you can go back and count, but plenty to make, you know, a 2 or 3 signature book, or you can split them up and make 2 books, or add paper to it and make more, however you want. And then finally, the paper, I have it fixed so that it folds into, for mailing, so that it folds in this poster board folder, which you can use coffee dye for tags, or you know, to back the cover, however you might want to use that. But that's also there. All right, so now let's come back to all the little ephemera pieces. Let me just put this down, and we'll just kind of dump these out. So these are the things you can use to decorate the journal. I have this really, I just ran into this just recently. It's white, partly white, but it has this really pretty design here, and the colors go really well with it. I'll show you one of the things I just experimented with on this guest check. I just did a little bit of napkin decoupage, some stamping, and put this little ribbon punched through the top. So the colors, you know, go really well with the journal. So I wanted to include one of those. And then this is also part of a napkin. I don't have many left, so I'm only giving you half, but it's this pretty lace design on it. So there's those 2 things. Here are the fibers. Have this scrap of lace. I have this partial doily. This is some vintage lace that has been tea dyed. This is some hand dyed sari silk that I dyed to match the blue in the fabric. This is some hand dyed cotton crocheted lace. It's not hand crocheted, but it is cotton. And this is also a hand dyed ribbon to match. This is a beautiful velvet, vintage velvet ribbon. It just looks so pretty in there. Just a strip of satin and another strip of satin with the picot edge. This is a vintage lace. Another length of vintage lace for pockets or a tuck, side tuck. This is a beautiful piece of heavy polyester lace. It's not vintage, but the color is beautifully matched. This is another little strip of hand-dyed cotton lace, and another delicate. It's not vintage, but it's very delicate, and I really like that. This is an antique hairpin lace. It's handmade. I've shared a length of that. Just some funny little trim that the color was good. Here's another vintage lace that is tea dyed. And another, it's like a chiffon that I would rip to use, you know, either on a ruffle down the side of a page, or as a tag, you know, tie or something. This is a beautiful, beautiful lace. It's not vintage either, but it's really lovely. It's kind of a goldy brown color. And another just little trim that I think looks really good. This is hand dyed. This, I believe, is vintage lace, and I have dyed it so that the color matches. And then this is a yard. I think there's a yard here. Yeah, it looks like maybe, yeah, about a yard of sari silk that you can use as a tie or for tag toppers, or you can dye it or whatever. So there's some of that. And then this is some really fine tulle in a really pretty kind of a light bluish green. That would also, I just, you know, never know what you might use that for. And then there's this whole little twist of fibers, and for me it would be for, you know, putting through the little holes in the paper edge, or for making a tassel maybe. Here's some baby rickrack in a really deep kind of rusty red, and this beautiful silvery blue. Anyway, this is vintage. Both of these are vintage. There's about a yard of this, the silvery blue. And then there's just all kinds of just fun fibers. This is a couple yards, I think, at least a yard or more. This is hand spun from our sheep. So we have purebred Finn sheep here on our little homestead, and I have spun this to include, you know, not sure how I would use it probably in a tassel, but it's naturally colored, so it hasn't, but it could be dyed. Wool takes dye really well, but I think the color matches really well. So there's that, compliments of me. And then just some chenille. This is a different type of chenille. Some like fuzzy, it's kind of dark, to give kind of a dark point to it. Here's some of that ladder yarn. There's a lot of that. And some brown chenille. Some of this also matches really well. This is just some thick fibery yarn. This has been hand dyed. It's just some of that baker's twine that I did like a tea dye on. Some really beautiful mauve pink fiber. Some green eyelash trim, and this is also just, you know, just some fiber to go maybe in a tassel. So there's fiber and lace and some napkins for decoupage. So that's pretty yummy. All right, then here's a little bling bag. So in this bag, I have, this is a commercial ribbon flower that I thought was pretty. I have made this little charm, fabric charm. And then there are, I've made some, this is a vintage, it was in earrings from about the 1940s or 50s, I guess. A little, just a little plain charm. I have 2 buttons, maybe for closures or something else, this beautiful blue, and then just a gold. Here's just some other vintage shirt buttons. A couple of them are mother of pearl. Some are just the early plastic. This is just a vintage rhinestone. Another charm dangle kind of thing. This is a little hand beaded charm. I made this one specifically in those colors, and then this green. And then there's a couple of those little rhinestone kind of things, and Tim Holtz brad. And there's a yo-yo, and then this is hand crocheted by yours truly, me. Anyway, I wanted to make that. So I'm not sure if you want to do like a cover, kinds of something on the cover, or I don't know how you might want to use that. I'll show you how I'm using it later. But there's the bling. And then here are all the pieces of ephemera, and so I've included 3 playing cards. Here's a button card, vintage. I have some fussy cut. There's a rose. I just thought that looked really nice. Another rose. These are a couple of, this I thought maybe as a book plate, a name plate, or some kind of a label. These are all from the Graphics Fairy, the free site. Appreciate them always providing such great graphics for us. So there's a couple of those. I think I have another few. Here I've included some of the Tim Holtz people, little ones. A couple of tickets, a library card catalog card. This is vintage prescription ephemera. This is a vintage recipe card for banana nut bread. This is also vintage book plate. A vintage little piece of, it looks like a record organizational kind of thing. This is from some seam binding, vintage. A little vintage receipt, some green stamps. This is a seed packet that I grunged up, and we can use as an envelope. I did just a little stamping on that. This is a vintage check from the 1940s. This is a postcard. It's vintage, but not antique. It has, you can see it has kind of a glossy finish, but so it's a reproduction postcard. There's a coffee dyed glassine bag. This is another foundation. I made this book page envelope. Vintage flashcard, another vintage flashcard, bingo card, and then here's one of those little tab dividers. a vintage library card, a vintage index card. This is not vintage, but it's been coffee dyed. Guess check. So all of these, you know, are meant to be foundation for ephemera somehow. So I showed you how I did a guess check like that. So these are all can be made however you want. Here's an example of how I use some of that embossed paper. This is vintage book page, like from the inside pages. I just made this simple tag and included in here. This is another card of some kind, and then I ran it through the embosser. And then these are just a couple of foundation pieces, journaling cards, so you can journal on the inside. You can add things to this to make it however, you know, you might want it, however it would match the theme of the journal that you make. So there's that. This is a handmade envelope. It's a little bit of collage. This is another panel, so it can go on the cover with other collage, or on as a pocket or a tuck in the journal. Here are 3 digitals from the Graphics Fairy that I printed that I just thought they matched, the colors matched really well, and they can be modified into journal cards or pockets in the journal. This is a card that I again dyed, hand dyed, smushed with alcohol. So alcohol, when you use with the distress inks, it doesn't warp the paper at all. So the paper is still very smooth. But the colors, I worked pretty hard to get the colors just right on that. And then this is just the foundation for a tag. So there's all of those pieces that you can decorate with. And as I say, the kit is gigantic. I don't know how many pieces I'll have to count as when I make the listing for Etsy, but it's big. It can make a lot, I'm pretty sure. But let me just show you quickly what I'm going to do. I am going to, I'm going to list these 2 kits on Etsy, and they can, you know, just be there. If somebody sees them, that's wonderful, but I'm going to use this kit as my next journal project. And so I have 2 different color covers in mind. I have this hardback book that I have fixed the spine, so it's ready for signatures. I'm not sure what I would do on the cover, but this matches everything really well. And so I will probably make a large journal with this cover. And then I actually have the signatures from these papers are ready to go. I have 3 signatures ready to sew into this journal, and then it will be ready for decorating. And then secondly, this is what I also wanted to do. I have made this small cover, and I am making one for me and one to put a finished journal to put on Etsy when we get it done. But this is how I have created the cover for mine. I just used some of the poster board as a back, and then have sewn around the edge, and then created this fabric collage on the front. So if you want, you can kind of follow along with me as I make this journal with the items in this kit. And whatever's left over, I will probably add to and then make the second journal. So I have these 2 journals coming up, and I kind of hope you'll follow along. Anyway, so soon after I post this, then I will list the 2 kits on my Etsy and hope that maybe someone will want to get one and follow me here, see what I do. So thanks for spending time with me and looking, and we'll see you next time.